All right, YouTube, welcome back. Today we're going to get into some horror FPS stuff, and it's actually been quite a while since I've used the horror FPS kit. So it's taken me a little bit of time to get back into it, but I feel like I've got a pretty good grip on it. I've been messing with it for a few days, so we're going to start a new series, and hopefully it's going to be a continuation, and it's going to be basically creating a game. It's going to be a little short game here using the horror FPS kit. Obviously, there's going to be a bunch of paid assets in here. It's going to be more of a high-end game. We're using HDRP. So guys, feel free to follow along. If you guys have assets already, use them. I'm going to run through step by step. I'm going to try to basically how I'm setting this game up, kind of what the story is. I'm still kind of getting into it in my head. But basically, it's going to be using mainly the stuff that comes with the horror FPS kit, so the zombies and stuff, the first-person controller. This asset here is the modular office, which you guys can get on the asset store. And I just have the showcase scene over here from the horror FPS kit. I'm just using it to kind of pull stuff from to place into my game here, to kind of refamiliarize myself on how it all works here. But awesome. So basically the premise of this game is we have our character here. He comes to this elevator, and there's going to be these little auras. So there's going to be this kind of like blue orbish. It's basically just dust, but whenever the player comes into contact with this stuff, it's going to kind of have something of importance. So, here we have our lantern. It's going to be a good pickup to have. Then over here, you're going to see what's going to happen, but there's going to be this like mannequin. Scary looking thing with the oars next to it. And when the player walks through this, I have a trigger set up here. When the player walks through this trigger, I need to organize all my stuff here. Where is it? It's somewhere in here, but some stuff's going to appear and all that. And I'll show you guys as I'm going. So let's go ahead and play this, and then I will run through what I did to set everything up. And I just have a sun so I can see what I'm doing. So let's turn the sun off, and let's play it and see how it goes. Alright guys, so that's basically all I have so far. It's about, I'd say, a little less than a day's worth of work here. So as you can see, the player comes out of here, sees the auras. We're still questioning what these auras mean, but whenever we come into contact with them, we're going to have some item of importance that we can pick up or somewhere to go. I'm still deciding what I want to put in these rooms yet, if anything. I'll have some doors that are open, some are closed. Our elevator is stuck, so we can't go back in it. This room as well. I haven't animated any doors yet or anything, but I do actually have a video using this very asset on how to animate doors, so feel free to check that out. How to animate them to open and close and interact with them, things like that. We come over here and we have a little bit of a jump scare. So it's not mainly a jump scare, it's more of like a trigger. So, things will happen, and then we walk through this trigger, and our mannequin disappears and drops a bottle of oil that we can use for our lantern. The bottle is a little bit hard to see, so I might highlight that somehow so we can see it better. But let's start from the beginning. So the first thing we have is basically dynamic objects that we can interact with. So I thought it would be cool to interact with this button here in the elevator to show that it's broken, that we can't use it. So we just click on what we want to have the player interact with. And we want to make sure that if it's a button, for example, or even a door, or it could be anything, that we have the layer set as interact, and that we have a box collider on it Doesn't have to be a trigger in this instance, but we want to have the UI object info script attached to this as well. Now what this does is it allows the UI to populate with what we want to call this. So as you can see, when I went over to it, a UI text popped up that said call elevator, and there was a text that said out of service, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's how we do that. I guess is uppercase, so it doesn't matter if that's capitalized or not. Now over to our door here. This door particularly is going to be jammed, so we can't open it. It's going to be locked. I might change that in the future, but again, we want our layer to be interact. Now, if we go down, we want the dynamic object script attached to this door. Now we can choose between normal, locked, and jammed. If you guys want a normal door that opens and closes, I have a video, like I said, on how to do that with creating the open and close animations and things like that with the sounds. In this instance, it's going to be jammed, so we don't need any animations attached to it. Their asset does come with a couple locked door sounds that we can use, and then just whatever you want to show up on the screen. I just chose that the door is jammed, and then you can keep all these the same. All right, for our let's see here, for our trigger, or our objective hint trigger, let me go and find that for you guys here. Here we go. So this guy, when you notice when I walked in, we entered this box and it said something along the lines of what could these ores mean, exactly what it says right here. So if your player walks, if you want like a hint, right, like if you want the player to walk through a trigger and like a hint pops up, then this would be the way to do that. So we attach the trigger hint script to this box here. So we go to component, game object, 3D object, cube, and then we just delete or uncheck the mesh render from that cube. We check the box collider. We want to make sure that this is a trigger. Then we can adjust our trigger like this. Type in what we want this to mean, like whatever we want it to say. We can add a sound, so when the player walks through this, is a sound. And make sure that the layer is ignore raycast, because we don't want the raycast projected by our first-person controller to trigger this hint. We want it to trigger when we physically walk through it. So I'll play that again for you guys so we can see what it looks like here. All right. So notice our raycast is not affecting this trigger, but when we walk up to it, pops up. All right, cool. Now the elevator doors opening and closing is exactly how I animated the doors opening and closing, using the animation window here. And like I said, if you guys watch my YouTube video on how to animate doors, it's the same exact process. We're just animating the different sets of doors. So feel free to watch that to get a sense on how to do that. My lights here, basically what I have is this map comes with the textures for the ceiling. So it has an emissive texture, which is this guy, and it also has a non-emissive texture, which makes the light panel look like it's off. So you can just switch those out, and then to add some ambiance, I just added some area lights here. As you can see, it kind of makes a little bit of difference. It just makes it look like the light is actually on instead of off. Awesome, cool. Now our light flickering script, if you guys noticed, this light actually flickers. This is a paid asset, I believe. I don't know if it's free. I can't really remember. But to get this to work, if you want to have a light that flickers, we just pick the object here. So for example, my object is this roof panel, and we add this light flickering script to it. And I will link all the assets I'm using in the description, guys. If you want to check them out, feel free to do so. So what we do is we add the script to this light panel here, and then we drag our light that we're using, for example, this area light, onto the light source here. And you guys can mess with these numbers here. This is basically like the minimum randomized time, the max randomized time. So how fast our light flickers. It just kind of, so it's like not all the flickerings are the same, if that makes sense. It kind of randomizes it, so you guys can mess with those numbers here. You guys can add sounds to it. So I have that buzzing sound you heard is actually this sound right here. So I do have a video on how to add sounds to your map, guys. So feel free to check that video out if you are unfamiliar on how to add sounds to your game. That video explains it in pretty good detail. So we can add a sound. We can drag and drop our sound into this right here. And as you notice, it changes materials too. So how I did that was I just took the non-emissive material that came with this asset and I dragged that into here. So basically every time the light is on, it uses the emissive material that makes the light look like it's on, which is none of these. It's this one right here. You can see how this one's kind of glowing. And then when the light turns off, it uses this off material. So it actually gives it more realism. It makes it like the light is flickering on and off. For the trigger I have over here, let me find that for you guys. This one right here. All right, so when our player walks through this trigger here, as you can see on the right, it triggers a bunch of stuff. So first it triggers the oil bottle I have to show up here. It triggers which is this guy right here. So if I were to turn that on, you can see it populates on the screen. So I have it off, and that trigger actually triggers that. And it also triggers our mannequin to disappear. It triggers that popping sound. I have another audio sound up here that makes it sound like the light's popping and breaking. That's why it turns off. It triggers this light to turn off. So I'll kind of run through these really quick with you guys. To trigger an object to appear or disappear, you go to Game Object, Set Active, and the bool is a true or false. So if it's checked, it means it will set it as active. If you want something to disappear, make sure that is active in your hierarchy, and then uncheck this box. So this mannequin is already active. I want it to disappear, so I make that box unchecked. To trigger a sound to stop, so I triggered that buzzing sound you guys heard. To stop, you go to audio source, stop. Now these things will show up differently. So as you can see, this is an audio source I dragged into here. So we have different things. Like up here, we don't have audio source because I did not drag an audio source into that. But down here, we do have an audio source because it recognizes that there is an audio source component attached to this object. So it will use those, if that makes sense. And if you guys want any more videos on me going into depth on these things further, I can do that for you. I'm just trying to do like a brief kind of run through to keep this video as short as possible for you guys. Now I want this audio source to play, and I will actually lock this here. If I can do that. Okay, I can't do that there. So this light bulb popping sound is what you guys heard when that light kind of turned off. And I just triggered it to play when we walk through that trigger there. The last thing I did was the light flickering script. I actually had to turn that script off as well because all these things can happen, but the light flickering script will basically override all of these things, and you'll still hear the buzzing, and the light will still be going on and off, on and off. So we just triggered this light flickering script to stop. Now, since this shows up, it is because this ceiling here has this lightning script component attached to it. So like I said, it'll kind of, it recognizes what's attached to different things, and it'll show up here. To get this blood on this glass, I actually have a bunch of different blood textures I downloaded. It's part of this blood asset. Like I said, I will attach that in the description as well, and I just put different ones on the glass. So I could drag this one on there, could drag this one on there. Gives it kind of a cool little horror feel. For the bloody words, actually, it is another asset, which is the blood words and symbols asset you guys can download on the asset store. Now, to get this to work, you have to have a plane. So you go to Game Object, 3D Object, and actually a quad works better, I think. So you just take a quad, and then you want to drag it to where you want. And then obviously we're going to adjust and it's actually facing the wrong way. So you see how the mesh render is on this side. You want to 180 that out. And we can adjust the size how we want, but you basically just drag your material onto that quad. I think this comes with letters and words and stuff like that. So, you know, that's how you do that. If you guys, since we are using HDRP, if you guys do come into like pink shaders like this wouldn't work, right? Just select all of them, go to Edit, Rendering, Materials, and convert selected built-in materials to HDRP. Or you could do the same thing and then go to Edit, Rendering, Materials, and convert all built-in materials. That'll take every material in your game and convert it to HDRP materials, which might take a little bit longer, but that's there for you too. So cool little asset there, you guys. All right, so I think that I did the same thing on this floor as well. So that is it, what I have so far. Let me just run through it one more time so you guys can see what it's like. And I really hope this helped you guys get an idea of where this is going. But let's play it. There is our symbol we added. I'm going to take that off, but all right. And if you guys have any suggestions on what I could do better, maybe feel free to let me know as well. Yeah, so this is a little bit hard to see, so I might make that a little bit easier, but there we go. I did adjust the stamina as well. I didn't want my player having a lot of stamina. I adjusted the run and walk speed as well. Stamina regeneration can all be adjusted, so if you guys want to know how to do that, I will also show you guys how to do that. All right, but yeah, that's what I have so far. I do intend on adding zombies and weapons that we can fight the zombies with, and I am still going over the story in my head, so it's not quite there yet, but it's a start. All right, you guys, hopefully this helped. Feel free to give me a like, subscribe if this helped you. Do let me know if there's anything you'd like to see in the future. Whenever I add more stuff, I'm going to make a video on what I did. I know I kind of ran through this pretty quickly, but I just wanted to give you guys an overview. If there's anything else you want me to run through in depth, do let me know. And I will see you in the next one. Peace out.